Good morning. This is the third morning story talk that I've given, little video I've made. And the first first one was about relation, which is sort of like the kingpin by which things are joined. So things that appear separate are joined in a way that sometimes we can't see. But we can perceive it, and that's the purpose of talking about it and being aware and guiding our children to see that we join. The second video was about in here, out there, and that one was again something that is fairly obvious, but to be aware of it, that each one of us exists by joining an in here-ness of deep behavior, which is consciousness and awareness, all of the qualities of consciousness and awareness, compassion, consideration, all of that is in here behavior. So is anger and some of the negative things. So those two videos cover two of the three things that are the core seed concepts that if adults can become aware of that, then the language doesn't really need to be given to the young children, but the language of relation, joining, in here, out there. And the third thing that I'm going to talk about today, the language can sort of induce awareness in us adults that allows us to guide children to explore the world from that reality. So the third one is really a fun one, and it's where before we had in here, out there, two different things. Here we have parts and participants. We are in our society still under the grips of the material reductionist viewpoint. Now that sounds a little, you're getting intellectual when you talk about reductionism. And one of the things that I'm trying to do here is bring things down to the ground level where it's not just an intellectual concept, where it's something that makes sense. Hear the cicadas there? I don't know if they're approving or disapproving. But so we are trapped in a reductionist view. And even though you can read and see that it's well known that, hey, that doesn't work. When you take an object and you break it down parts, and you get smaller and smaller things. The idea of reductionism, which started way back before Christ with Democritus, that idea breaks down at the atom. At one time we thought, okay, the atoms, the chemical chart of elements gives all of the little parts that everything's made of. And from a chemical point of view, that's true. But we know that when you break the atom, you get behavior. You don't get parts, really. But they persist with that language, which just puzzles me. To call things particles, okay, we can use that language and we can think of them as little pieces. But there's another awareness. And I can summarize material reductionism in this way. It's the idea of parts joined in composition, or turning it around, composition of parts. We see material. We think of all reality as coming from compositions of parts. And, we can get down to a single atom and say, yeah, look, it's a composition of parts too, called particles. But there's a different view. And it's a parallel view. Again, the two are joined because they're two views of the same thing when it comes to material. And this second view is participants in collective behavior, or turn it around, collective behavior or participants. Now, what difference does it make to turn it around or not? If we think participants in collective behavior, then we are focusing on the participants and we try to identify them, and sometimes that's what we need to do. But most times it's the collective behavior that we see or perceive or participate in. And we can't know all of the participants. So it's the collective behavior as opposed to composition. So, and those two are joined. So you can take really all kinds of examples. Take the human body, all right? Well, it's composed of parts. So I can look at it from that point of view. I can take a reductionist view. My being is a composition of parts. But, we know that's not true because all those parts are working together. They're participating. So every part you name, my heart, is a participant. It beats. Everything that you name is a participant in collective behavior. And one of the mysteries, we get back to this mystery pretty often, the mystery of gravity. And again, science gets caught up with a prediction and measurement and control. And so they have recipes for calculating what's going to happen with gravity. But gravity is participation of two atoms. They are participating in collective behavior, and that collective behavior is what we see. So participants in collective behavior and parts joined in composition are two things that are, again, two sides of the same thing. Now, a lot of people will say, or I should say, I hear it often, that it's an illusion. That, objective to see objects is just an illusion because it's all vibration. Well, that's true, but that doesn't help me very much. And I don't think it helps children very much either. What helps is to say that object is a participant too. It is what it is because of its in-here participation. So there you can see that we're joining all of these things together. Use the word joining. We're joining with in here and out there. Everything has that. Every self and other has that in here, out there. And every self and other is participating in collective behavior. Now, I'll tell you why that's important when it comes to something like religion. If we think of inner participants within us, and I'm not talking about now participants that are parts, but we have some participants that are not parts. We don't know what they are. They're transcendent participants. And you may not be able to, not really kind of totally accept that now, but in my opinion, after you've lived long enough, you realize that things come up from within you. Inspiration, intuition, you don't create them. There's inner participation that occurs. Dreams is inner collective behavior. So in these first 3 morning talk videos, I've really just introduced those 3 major things. Relation, which is joining, and remember, it goes up the ladder. Relation, relate, starting relate to join, relation, relative, and relativity. Kind of like create, creation, creative, creativity. I think I got that a little out of order. So remember that relate has a depth to it that we'll go through. So relate, in here, out there, parts and participants. Those are the 3 major things. Now, some of you know that I've spent, after coming to the realization of those things in something like 2005, 6, in the period when I was in social work studies, I came to the realization of those. But when that sinks in for someone who has studied science, then you see that, whoa, there's something deep there. There's something that isn't talked about. And so I've spent that time since then digging in and trying to understand those other things, especially relativity. So when you take those 3 core seeds of awareness that I've described, and pursue them, then you get to the story of relativity that's based in that awareness, instead of awareness of measurement, prediction, control, equations, and all that. And the story of relativity then becomes the story of relativity, and it's a beautiful story. It's the same behavior, but interpreted in a different way. I think I've done enough on this one. So thank you for listening to this third morning talk. I hope to continue these. So take care.